Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Samantha Stryker. I'm the assistant director here and Book Sandwiched In co-coordinator for this series. Thank you for coming today. Please make sure you enter for the door prize if you didn't do that already. Today is $10 to Harrington's, I think? Harrington's. So please do enter for that. We'll have a drawing at the end of the session today. Please enjoy the cookies, coffee. I see most of you are already, so that's wonderful. And yeah, continue to do so as we move along today. So I am very happy to be introducing Megan Boring. I was trying to figure out how long I've known you now, and it's probably been, I don't know, 8 years? Yeah, 8 years-ish. So Megan Boring works at Rochester Regional Health, UMMC, as the Moms Program Coordinator, and maybe she can talk a little bit more about what that is. Megan is a proud mom of 2, Kerrigan and Carson. Megan's journey into motherhood has been her motivation to become an advocate for maternal health, and she recently completed her patient family partner certification through Mama's Voices. Is that how you say it? Okay. In her free time, Megan enjoys to swim, coach her kids' sports, or watch them from the sidelines. So we are very excited to welcome Megan today to review Kid Gloves by Lucy Knisley. So welcome, Megan.
Thank you for having me. Sam knows I'm nervous, so but I'll get into it. So I'm Megan. I am the Moms Program Coordinator at UMMC, and my job is to connect other parents to different community resources. And so I'll click through a little bit here, but it's really based on my story. So when Sam and Kathy emailed me and they were like, "Hey, will you do Book Sandwiched In for us on Kid Gloves?" And I was like, "What is that?" And you want me to do a graphic novel, which I don't read. And I said, "Sure, like let's step out of our comfort zone and give it a shot." So I said, "You come on in." So I did. So I'm gonna click here. So kind of as what was said, I am a mom. My kids are 5 and 7. That's how I know I've known Sam for 8 years, because I did Leadership Genesee when I was pregnant with Kerrigan. My 2 nephews call me Titi because they could not say auntie. So I'm Titi, and I have another niece or nephew coming in October. The Certified Parent Family Partner through Mama's Voices is a group that I found. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I think LinkedIn is really cool. It's a lot of good information. I like to learn. So I kind of scroll through there, and Mama's Voices is a group that focuses on maternal morbidity and maternal mortality. The A stands for advocates. And they do a training to try to help you tell your pregnancy story and your birth story. And so I completed this training in January, and what was really cool working with them is they were like, "You're in a unique position. You have a unique birth story," 2 of them actually, but also you're able to get that story out there and impact other parents. So what they kind of do is they try to set you up with different opportunities to present your birth story. I'm not going to give that to you guys today, but I like to share that I have that, because sometimes if we give a name to things, if there are other parents that are like, "Hey, I want to use my mom voice, let's use it, let's learn how to use it." And so Mama's Voices does a really good job with that. I am a certified childbirth educator through Childbirth International. Why not? I told you I like to learn, why not? And then yes, I do enjoy to swim, I enjoy to read, and I do enjoy to be in my gardens, even though they're not always the best looking gardens. Sometimes just being in the dirt is nice to be in. So like I said, Kid Gloves and a graphic novel. I have never read a graphic novel before this. I have with my kids. My kids read Dogman. What is the other one? Captain Underpants. My daughter just found, is it Neverland Fairies, I think is downstairs? I had never read them, but we had thought about them for her. Kerrigan struggles with reading. She wants to do it, but it comes very hard to her, so somebody said, try graphic novels, because it helps her put the pictures with the words. She's killing it. So, like I said, Sam said write a graphic novel. I said, okay. enjoyed it. I have it up here. I've got some pages marked. And I think what I really enjoyed about it was that you've got, you know, the words in the story, but it does put a picture with it, which sounds kind of childish. But I think some of our brains work that way. And so, you know, the first page is, I don't know if anybody has read this. I don't want to ruin too much for you. But I think that one of the ones that I really kind of chuckled on was a woman's health is never done. And we've got people trying to cover her up. We've got a monk, and then we've got Da Vinci. I was like, that kind of puts this into perspective, what we're talking about. I like that Lucy Knisley is real. And what do I mean by that is, you know, I talked about Mama's Voices and sharing your birth story, and we all have a different birth story, whether you're a mom, a dad, or grandparent. If you're a parent of sorts, somebody's birth has impacted you. So with my kids, again, I'm not going to give you all of it, I promise. My kids were both born prematurely. So my daughter was born at 33 weeks. My son was born at 34 weeks, 5 days. Both of my kids had an NICU stay. That kind of shaped us to decide not to have more kids. Which that's okay, right? Because that's my story, that's my experience. And I think everybody else can kind of agree. We all have some other, you know, experience that's going to kind of dictate, do we have kids, do we not have kids, are we, you know, an aunt and uncle forever? Cool. I love my nephews dearly. I'm super excited to become a TT again. And I know my sister-in-law didn't have a good experience with her first, but that's okay. That's, you know, that's their choice. But one of the things I do in my job is I try to connect with other parents. And the one group I run is called Parent Cafe. And we try to meet on the third Saturday of every month because we're learning that parents need something, but we can't always put a what. So if we say a parent needs something, we're automatically going diapers, wipes, bottles, bibs, onesies, but it may not be material. And so what Lucy really does is gives a voice to the thoughts when I say, you know, how are you today? What's your first answer?
I'm fine.
I'm fine. What's your real answer? This is totally different, right? Like, I'm looking at you because I got you. Like, I know exactly where you are. I've been there. Our stories are different. But I know you're not really fine. But in society, we just kind of move on from that. And I like that Lucy, again, she puts that into thought. You know, we say we're fine, but it's not, oh, well, I've been up since 5:30 with the baby. My last shower was probably yesterday. He's hungry now, but I still wanted to get here on time. Like, I get it. We all have that, whether we're a parent or not, no matter what stage we're in. But I really try to push with the parents that I'm with is to not say I'm fine. You know, I am an advocate for maternal health. I'm an advocate for maternal mental health because we need to say more than the fine. Our society, I'm trying not to go on a tangent, Sam, but our society has really become the, you know, how are you? I'm fine. I'm going to keep going. That's not building our villages, and that's not helping us support each other. And I think that that's what we need. We need to be able to support each other, and to do that, we have to be able to answer the questions honestly, but also be able to respond to the answer in a way that means something. This book does have factual information in it. Not a lot of graphic novels do that, I think. I think a lot of them are cartoons, like Captain Underpants. I don't know if there's anything factual in Captain Underpants. But the other twist on this is towards the end of the book, it shows it from her husband's point of view. And I think a lot of times, you know, I've been very intentional in saying parent, because I think a lot of times we forget about dad, or we forget about the significant other in the relationship, and we really focus on the person who's having the baby. That's not a bad thing, but there is somebody else there who is experiencing things, who does feel things, and so she does have a chapter in here that is about her husband, and it's everything from his point of view. That's kind of cool to me. I pulled this quote from page 7, because I think too this is kind of the basis of why I do what I do. So when Sam and Kathy met me in 2017, I was an aquatic instructor with the YMCA. I've got 2 cool people in here with me today, so they know where I'm from. 2020 hit, I had, Kerrigan was just over 2, and Carson was about 6 months. 2020 is also when COVID hit.
Yeah.
I'm building my story here. I knew I needed a career change. I didn't know what that looked like. I am a person, I think that the stars line up the way that they're supposed to. And so the moms program opened up. And I kind of went in with the mentality that I wanted to do better for new parents and give them and be who I needed. So I've really spent the last 4.5 years trying to do just that. And so, I mean, this is a book that I definitely go back to my parents and say, hey, I got something for you, and I think that you should read it. Take it in doses. I like that it covers her whole pregnancy. It starts right when she has decided that she wants to be a mom. And it kind of takes you through her journey there, and I like that it's not a straight path. I don't want to give away too much because I really think everybody should read it. But it's not a straight path. That's not, oh, I want to have a baby, I have a baby, and I'm done. She couldn't cover that in this thick of a book. She talks a little bit, about the immediate bringing baby home. That's not always easy either. And in my line of work, I have a lot of moms that are like, okay, so I've just grown this squishy human for 9 months. Now what? Now what? So I enjoyed this. I don't know how long I'm supposed to talk to you, Sam. I'm quick. Some of the things, there's the dad chapter. I can tell you I enjoyed it. I'm really glad that you asked me. I don't want to give away much in here because I do want to encourage you guys to read it. But like Lucy said, I hope that you enjoy this book. It's a combination of what I learned, what I wish I'd known, and what little I knew.
Thank you.
So when she talks of her husband's vantage point, is she speaking in his voice, or is she quoting him? Is he speaking in his voice?
I'm pretty sure it's him is written from John's perspective because I do not remember it. That's exactly what it says on the page. And his are not in color. I don't want to give anything away.
You can share passages. Big book, yeah.
It is a big book.
Yeah, feel free to share a couple passages if you want.
Right, things that stood out.
Maybe your bookmarks there.
This is my pictures of,
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought to me that was really impactful.
Yep.
There's this theory held that the woman's uterus would just float around the body, untethered to anything.
How long did that theory?
This was the ancient Greeks.
Oh.
I mean, I was reading this kind of chuckling.
Yeah.
There was a part a little bit further down.
So it's been a long struggle for us.
What was that?
So it's been a long struggle for us. as
Oh,
women.
absolutely. There was one picture, and I don't think I'm going to be able to find it on the fly here, but it was saying how, like, men are the ones who, like, try to put the science behind having, making babies and having babies, but they weren't allowed in the delivery room. And my brain was just like, but wait a minute. Hold on. Why not? I don't know. It was that time period, right? What's this? Oh, here it is. I did have it bookmarked. It was in 1522. A doctor was sentenced to death for dressing as a woman and sneaking into a delivery room to observe a birth. It was considered obscene for a man to be present, despite the fact that they were the ones writing the books. This is a doctor. It's 1522, but still, it's a doctor.
And what was his punishment?
Death.
Wow.
He's a doctor. I don't know, like,
But even back in the 1950s and 60s,
Right.
dads did not go in.
right.
So I did read the book, so
Okay.
I'm the one who recommended this one in particular. So how was it for you, like, reading it when she actually does, like, do different diagrams, and some of the things are more graphic. Like, it's a graphic novel, but she
Right.
does have, like, medical things that are graphic in it. So, like, what was your experience like that as a reader? Do you think that's helpful for you as, like, a mother, you know, being in your role, that
Right.
type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my job, I mean, I told you I'm a certified childbirth educator, so this stuff doesn't faze me. I think that definitely, like, as a graphic novel, if childbirth is a conversation that makes you uncomfortable to think about, I don't think I would recommend the book. I think as a mom, I mean, I'm always advocating for my kids, like, learn it, like, let's use correct names, this is what this looks like and what this does. So as a mom, I'm like, absolutely. But if, you know, the topic of childbirth and having babies makes you uncomfortable, then maybe I wouldn't recommend this book, because like you said, it's a graphic novel.
Is it something that you feel like you could read with your kids at a certain age or something, or is it more like?
I mean, I think at a certain age, yes. I mean, because she does talk about, you know, PCOS and endometritis, which are things, again, that can be pertinent. I don't think a 7-year-old needs to know all of that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think, you know, if she were to get old, when she gets older, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think your comment about when you bring the baby home was perfect, you know, with, I don't know, my memory, and I don't want to get into all that, but, you know, you read all the facts, you do all this, you're in, you know exactly what you should be doing, this and that, and this and that, as far as read and educated. And then I remember coming over the hill, and my house is, you know, I'm almost there, and thinking, oh my God, now wow, you know, it's like, it's that realization that, wow, this is real. It's not just factual that I read about.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
She said she's got another one coming out about bringing the baby home, so I may have to look for that.
Do you know if she's written other books as well?
Yes. Looks like she's got actually 2 right on the back here. This one's called Relish, My Life in the Kitchen, and Something New, Tales from a Makeshift Bride.
And both graphic novels?
Yes.
Yeah, she's the writer and illustrator, so she's been basically capturing her adult years through different books. I've read a few other ones by her, but
Okay.
specifically I felt like this one was the most poignant because of, like, it just dealt with life and life or death situations. Like, as you said, she had a very complicated, not straightforward pregnancy or birthing experience. And I think that also, like, is really impactful if you ever knew anyone or experienced that yourself. But I haven't read anything beyond what she just wrote for that one. But Relish is the one that usually people think of, and that's about her, like, cooking adventures, and she has recipes in there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and I like what you said, like, you know, I know we're going back and forth, but her birth is not a straight story, and to me, that's what's really important to share. You know, in my job, I meet with pregnant individuals. Some of them are, you know, as early as 12 weeks and haven't told any of their families, to as late as 38 weeks, and, oh shoot, Megan, what can you find for me tomorrow, because I'm due any day. I never want to necessarily scare people, but I told you, I'm a big advocate of maternal health, and I think that being educated is empowering. And so I tell all of them, like, I don't want to share these maternal warning signs with you to scare you. I want to share these maternal warning signs with you to educate you. So that way, if you feel any of these, you can call your doctor. And I explain, it's okay to call your doctor 5 times in one day. Because I think also sometimes we're like, oh, well, I'm being a burden. Or when we're a mom, we're a superhero, and I'll be fine. I'm always fine. But I try to empower them and be like, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not be fine. And it's okay to call the office.
Another
That's why we picked you for this book.
You don't want me to get too high up on my soapbox here.
No, that's okay.
So is that a book you would recommend to the women producing?
I think some of them, yes.
And
Again,
why-
because-
Why not to all of them?
I think a lot of it is the graphicness of it, because I also try to be sensitive. So if I have a mom that, I can see has had several miscarriages, I don't know how she's gonna feel about this, knowing the outcome of the birth that Lucy had. And so, because I don't know how people's brains think and work. I know when my kids were in the NICU, do not recommend a NICU book to me, because you never know how it's gonna turn out. And so that's why I say some, but not all. Just like even too, I always recommend a lot of these books that are, like my favorite to recommend is Good Moms Have Scary Thoughts. And it's all about mood and anxiety disorders. And it kind of reflects back to that, hey, how are you today? I'm gonna say I'm fine, but meanwhile, here's what I really wanna say. But I also, gently recommend that one too. Do I feel this mom is in a good headspace to accept this book? I don't know. So I try to use a little bit of judgment there. So that would be why I would refer it for everybody.
Do you feel it's more helpful for people who are about to become mothers, or as a kind of reflection after you've had a child? Or again, depends on the person.
I would say a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the things that I touch on with all of the parents that I meet with is maternal mental health. And I explain, a lot of times you don't recognize that you're in a that you have any kind of mental health. I don't want to say diagnosis because it's not always a straight, clear cut, but it could be an issue, absolutely. But you don't always recognize it until it's too late. So I always tell them that my job is to build up your toolbox. So I give kind of those light touch. I give out Postpartum Support International. It's free, non-clinical run, but it's other parents across the globe that want to help parents. And so you can reach out on social media, you can call, you can text, and it's an instant connection. I always give out the National Maternal Mental Health Hotline. I would rather you have that if you're in a crisis situation than try to start Googling to be like, oh my gosh, what do I need? Whereas the books, again, it's kind of worth that conversation. Hey, I know that I have anxiety and depression right now. Cool, can I give this book to you knowing that these symptoms might increase after you have baby because our hormones are everywhere. But then also in the postpartum, hey, I think you might like this, just kind of the way that we're talking. So it's one of those, you gotta use a little judgment and kind of have a conversation. But I don't usually just cold give out a book and be like, hey, I think you want this. No.
Well, and I think it is such a unique and sensitive topic. It's, if we're talking about her food memoir, you might be more able to just hey, read
Right.
about this person's adventures cooking through France or whatever. Whereas obviously pregnancy and childbirth can be a much more sensitive topic for people, so.
Yeah. And then I think the other piece too is just trying to remain, culturally sensitive as well. I have parents that we don't talk mental health. I provide the Postpartum Support International as a light touch. They kind of take it, what they do with it, they do with it. Whereas I have other moms that are like, yeah, I've got, anxiety, depression, and I would love to talk about this. Okay. But I think that, we have to be respectful because there are cultures that we don't talk about this. I can't make a decision, my husband has to. All right, then how can I respect that?
In your profession, is there much thought to the dangers of the outcome of birth? Having been through personally a child that was not breathing at birth, and fortunately it was saved. That was tearing up now just thinking about it. So I was wondering if that was part of the book or if that was part of if you experienced that in a professional life.
So I generally only meet with parents once, and it's usually while they're pregnant. That's not to say that I don't know parents that have experienced the loss, whether it's in utero or after baby gets here. And with that, I do work with the Western New York Perinatal Bereavement Network out of Buffalo. You know, we make the referrals, how can we support you? But also it's not an umbrella like, here's everything. Like, we try to have that conversation. What do you want? You know, how can I help you? Because I think sometimes if we just throw everything at parents during that time period, it's a lot, it's overwhelming. So I really try to put it back into their hands. What can I help you with? What would you like to accept from me?
I don't know what would have prepared my wife and I for that.
Right.
That birth, because the first two were, you know,
Right.
easy, especially the second one. Yeah.
It happens more than you think it
Oh.
happens.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, and I think too, that's part of, you know, the conversation of, let's talk about it. Because I think for a long time, and even still, I don't think that the world is 100% confident to talk about things like that. But I think that if we can, it just makes it easier, because then, you know, who is your village supporting you during that, you and your wife during that time? I don't know. But I think if we talk about it, that kind of helps parents to work through that, to be able to say, all right, here is what I need. Isn't it? It's very, like Sam said, it's complex, it's sensitive, it's, you know, I'm by no means the expert. I'm a mom on a mission. So I want to do better for the next set of parents. You know, I want my kids to be able to, you know, have kids, how, when, if they want, and, you know, that they have the support for it. But, you know, I think part of doing that is just to be able to have the conversation, whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable.
I like that you are very sensitive to that and, you know, aren't just like handing over something, this is the pat answer to this. Because that's so important that a lot of doctors would just not go there. They would just
Right.
have the easy way out, do this, and you're done. So that's very, very important.
Thank you.
I appreciate that you do that.
Thank you. It is part of my experience. After Carson, he was born in 2019, March of 2020, COVID hit.
Yeah.
Told you he was an NICU baby, so I am like the poster child for developing postpartum depression. When I went to my OB, she handed me a stack of business cards and said, here, call these therapists. So that was part of when I made a career change, I said, I will not do that.
Yeah.
So I make it a really big effort to connect with the different agencies in the community so that I can be able to say, hey, you know, Susie at the library is a great resource for X, Y, and Z. Go ahead and tell her I sent you. Because I think that warm handoff makes a difference. I think it would have been my situation. I ended up actually going through Postpartum Support International. I did a peer mentor program with them for 6 months. Probably the best choice I made. All I had to do was talk to them 1 day a week.
It's been a while since I read the book, but does Lucy have supports within her family or in the community, or is it really just like her and her husband? I couldn't remember.
I want to say it's her and her husband, and I think her family flew in from across the U.S. at one point. But it didn't sound like his parents were close by either.
Yeah, I think that also impacts her
Absolutely.
experience too.
Yeah. And I think to me, that's why it's really important to build your village. I'm just starting to get mine. I'm fortunate I have a really good friend whose kids are the same age as mine. So I can call her on those days where I'm like, I'm gonna pull all of my hair out of my head because my child is doing X, Y, and Z. And we just laugh and we're like, okay, we're good.
But it's those COVID babies that it was very, very difficult. And I have a daughter that had a baby, and apparently, I mean, she got to the hospital just in time, but, I mean, that's a story in
Oh yeah,
itself.
that's its own beast,
When
absolutely.
you're in Paris and you're trying, and you take, you know, a metro because you can't find a taxi because it's getting COVID. That whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you get there and she thought she was gonna have a baby right on the sidewalk. But she had the baby, but then you have to come back to a parent's apartment where you're sequestered and your husband's working in the bedroom with a new baby and another 2-year-old. Yeah. Or
Right.
5-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
I agree.
That the both the babies went, I mean, that whole thing was
Oh yeah, I think that's its own monster. because I know I had to do a little bit of advocating when my little guy went to UPK. I was like, I don't know if these teachers are ready. These kids don't have the social skills that my 7-year-old has because they've been hunkered down during that really critical part of growing. Like I remember when I took him to clothes for the first time, and he was like walking like this, putting his hands on the clothes. I'm like, what is he doing? Oh, he's not been to a store. Who knew that clothes hang nicely on a rack and not just, on piles in the house? Who'd have thunk?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no, I to me that's a whole nother tangent that I could go on because he is my COVID kid, but yeah.
Is there any missions book or any programs that are focusing on, like, forget the statistics, but I know the mortality rate for mothers, especially during birth, is really terrible in the USA compared to other countries.
Absolutely.
Is there any information on that or how we can support efforts to figure out what we're doing so differently than everyone else?
In here, no. In the work I do, yes. I mean, there's people that lobby all day long down in DC. There was a really good group called Mom Congress. Again, jump on LinkedIn. To me, I'm just like, I wish I was that brave. But they talk about the statistics. They talk about the things that need to pass. I think that childbirth has become very, I don't want to say robotic, but it's become very sterile and very like, this is how we have to do it. You have to have your baby in the hospital. We have to do X, Y, and Z. And I mean, personally, again, this is not professionally, this is not personally, I think that's the problem. I mean, we have third world countries that have better maternal mortality rates than we do. They're not birthing in a hospital.
There was a section that a feature on Spectrum News this morning on in New York State the mortality, and they're doing something, and I didn't catch it all, it was not, but on Spectrum News, so if anyone's interested, they might want to see if there's something on some law or something that's coming, a push on rates in New York State.
So, I mean, I try to read up on it. I think the education is power. So I really try to educate the moms, you've had a headache for 2 days, call your provider. It may be nothing, but I would rather you call and it be nothing.
And what about, you mentioned a number of groups you're part of or organizations that support parents?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
You mentioned some of the groups you're part of that support parents.
Yeah.
Is there a way that people can get involved to support those, or how do we find out more about those organizations?
So I did bring poster flyers with me today.
Awesome.
But, I mean, absolutely. We've got flyers. I know we're trying to get it out on social media, trying to get it out further. I'm a one-man team. I told you I run the MOMS program. I'm the MOMS program. It's me, myself, and I covering 4 counties. I do have a group of people that I work with. I run a task force in the county for perinatal health. And it's all individuals that are, how can we do better for our parents? And so this parent cafe that I referenced is an outcome of these group of people meeting to try to talk more about what do parents need that's not material. You want to sit and talk, so the parent cafe, come and have a cup of coffee while it's still hot. Bring your baby. If you have other kids, we're going to put them in another room and play with them so that you can sit and enjoy your cup of coffee while it's hot the first time.
Any other questions or comments for Megan? Thank you very much.
Thank you.